Hi, my name is Geert Van Gele and I would like to discuss the right kind of breathing as well as basic legato playing. This is part of the basic technique necessary for playing the recorder. This video is part of a series that accompany the iBook Thoughts on the Recorder, which is available through my webshop kattenbergrecordings.be. You can find a link in the description. I've also included a clickable link at the end of this video if you want to learn more about it. One can talk about different kinds of breathing. Low breathing, in which the belly and the waist and lower back extends. Chest breathing, where the ribcage extends. And shoulder breathing, where the shoulders go up. You have also combined breathing, which is self-explanatory. Fact is that the lower you breathe, the more control you will have over your air. The higher you breathe, the lesser. Low breathing gives a relaxed feeling. It consumes less oxygen and is overall described as healthier. High breathing is the kind of breathing humans utilize when we jump into action, when we need to have an explosion of energy. And that's why high breathing consumes a lot of oxygen. By breathing fast and high, we can pump a lot of oxygen in our blood. I have learned through the years that if a student has the ability to breathe low, that this is the most single effective technique in acquiring a good sound on the recorder, even without ever having to touch the subject of sound production. I feel that from the moment there is the slightest bit of high breathing involved, when air gets stored in the chest area, be it voluntarily or involuntarily, the result is a serious degrading of the sound quality. When we talk about low breathing, things are not quite what they seem to be. We don't breathe in our belly, simply because this is not the place where our lungs are. What actually happens is that the underside of the lungs expand, pushing the intestines outwards. Low breathing can become a combination of breathing in your belly, your waist and your lower back. And when mastered this, it gives you the feeling as if an inner tube is inflating and deflating around your waist. My experience is that when learning the technique of low breathing, it's best, however, to only focus on expanding the belly. The feeling of the inner tube will come gradually once the belly technique is in place. I teach this with the following exercise. Now put your recorder aside, for starters, and position one hand on your tummy and the other on your chest. Exhale completely as far as you possibly can. This makes sure that there is no bad air remaining in your chest area. Your belly is now totally drawn inward, almost touching your spine, so to speak. Push out your belly now and make sure that you focus on pushing out the belly instead of breathing in. Your belly hand is keeping check with the movement of your tummy. At the same time, you make sure that your chest hand is not moving at all. When in doubt about this, you can utilize a mirror to double check this. When the belly is being pushed outward, the bottom of your lungs will fill automatically without actively breathing in. And once the belly is fully extended, make sure to stop the air flowing in once you reach this point. This is the tricky part. In most cases, you will not be aware that too much air flows in. Therefore, check your chest hand. This extra air, although it won't feel like it is extra, but rather it will feel just plain normal, this chest air will be stored in the chest area, which is not what we want. It is quite normal in the beginning, though, that you will feel as if you have too little air capacity. The muscles still need to create more breathing space, and this may take some time, sometimes a lot. For now, just add more breath marks in your score. Most of the time I start by asking the student to make sure that he or she breathes perfectly as a first breath to start the piece. By making this a constant reminder, it will be a lot easier to gradually incorporate this technique further. A good pointer is also to ask the student to breathe low by thinking about it throughout the day. Make reminders for yourself in order to do so. For instance, post-it notes or writing on your hand. In order to automate the low breathing further, it's a good idea to stop at every breath mark. Put down your recorder. Or when more accomplished, check with one hand. About legato playing. The most basic tonguing in recorder playing is what I call the legato playing. This is a very subtle use of the tongue, which gives the effect of tying the notes together, but without actually slurring them. This technique is the most standard way of playing, the one you want to start off with. The sounding effect is like this. Note the difference with actually slurring. Please note that in normal musical terms, legato means slurred. In my book, I make the distinction between legato, which is with tongue, and slurring, which is without tongue. In order to achieve the legato effect with tongue, I often use the imagery of a wide ribbon representing the breath and a pair of scissors representing the tongue. The scissors make clear incisions in the ribbon, but they don't actually cut through the ribbon. How do we get this effect? By first of all positioning the tongue in the correct place, somewhere on the so-called alveolar ridge, just behind the teeth. As mentioned in the former video, this is the natural position for creating the D sound. Note that the back of your tongue should rest against your top molars. The effect you want to achieve is close to the slurred effect. In other words, you want the notes to be as long as possible and the attack of the notes as short as possible. Compare this slurring and try to get as close as possible to this effect. As a side note, listen for a distinct click in the attack, the slightest aspirated D, which marks the start of the next note. If the sounding result is not crisp enough, you should think more of a tu rather than a do. Be aware that the most common mistake is that students give too much time to the attack, which results in too much separation of the notes. Another exercise that may be helpful is one where you practice legato without a recorder. Here you use your voice uninterruptedly while repeating do, 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 as light as possible, but again with a distinct click of the tongue. The voice will actually help you maintain a steady airstream while superimposing the subtle articulations. Once this feels comfortable and you have the desired effect, you now can do the same without a voice. One more time. An added benefit of this exercise is also that you can practice this whenever and wherever. When you have mastered this, it's a good idea to also practice two more general techniques. The first is to play with crescendo and decrescendo whenever your musical line goes up or down. Maybe even note this in your score. This will help you in two ways. First of all, your musical line will be more singing, and you will be adapting more to the specific needs of the recorder, which needs less breath pressure in the low register and gradually more towards the high. Lastly, start applying shorter notes whenever you encounter a dance-like piece. First, give a little lilt to the first beat of the measure, and by playing the second and especially the third beats shorter in a dance measure in 3, you will get a nice dance-like motion going, full of energy. Try to differentiate the amount of lilt and the shortness of the notes as you go, in order to keep an interesting interpretation going. For an in-depth report of how to get further into interpretation, I like to point to the 3rd chapter of my book, as well as the free accompanying videos. That's all for now. If you follow the link, you can watch the next video on how to get a basic coordination going between tongue and fingers. Thanks for watching. See you later.